Well, hello. Welcome to the third video in this program, and it won't be as long as the previous two. We've come to what I plan to be the main item in the program, and I think it's the first time I've featured music in a program that I've featured previously. However, I felt that I couldn't leave out Ravel's La Valse, not least because it's music that really captivates me. It's like so much of Ravel's output, a wonderfully crafted and imaginative piece of work. Here's the story. I've told it before, but I must tell it again. Ravel was a big fan of the waltz. He liked to dance his wonderful rhythms, as he called them. And in 1906, he wrote of his plans to write a piece in tribute to the waltz and to Johann Strauss II. His original idea had been to call this piece Vienna. As it happened, Ravel didn't return to his idea until 1919, when he was prompted to do so by a commission from Diaghilev. He worked on three versions of La Valse simultaneously, one for a larger symphony orchestra, I beg your pardon, one for piano solo, and a third one for two pianos. I think the piano solo version was intended as a kind of rehearsal aid. The two piano version was the one in which La Valse was first performed for Diaghilev, but he didn't like it. He rejected it. He said it was only a portrait of a ballet and not a real of a ballet, I beg your pardon, and not a real ballet. And he was actually spot on, because that's what it is. However, his reaction to this work put an end to what had been a promising relationship between the two men. And when they met again several years later, Ravel simply refused to shake Diaghilev's hand. And Diaghilev actually challenged Ravel to a duel, something that didn't take place. And that was a very last encounter. Ravel conceived this as a visual work, and he wrote a detailed programme for its first part, and this is what he wrote, I beg your pardon. Through whirling clouds, waltzing couples may be faintly distinguished, and the clouds gradually scatter. One sees an immense hall peopled with a whirling crowd. The scene is gradually illuminated. The lights of the chandeliers burst forth, set in an imperial court about 1855. So he's very specific as to when this piece of music was set. And he opens the work very softly, as if to create the impression of a mist. And then you get various bits of melody slowly appearing, and the waltz goes through various mood changes, from elegant to pompous to slightly melodramatic and so on. And then it goes all downhill towards the end, and the waltz's character becomes kind of hysterical. It explodes into a violent climax, almost as if the waltz itself is destroyed. At least that's how La Valse is generally interpreted, but there is another interpretation. When Ravel wrote this piece, World War II had just ended, and Vienna was no longer a city of glory. According to one review, La Valse was a symbol for the birth, the decay and the destruction of a musical genre through new, nightmarish musical language. Ravel saw the waltz as a symbol of old Europe with all its beauty, dignity and civility. But in time something got lost, and it all began to descend into ugliness, instability and chaos. So this is La Valse. And by the way, before I play it, I should tell you that I received an email from YouTube, another email from YouTube, intimating that there was a block on this video in 4 countries, in France, in Belgium, in Switzerland and in Canada, for some copyright reason in connection with the piece. Anyway, let's hear Ravel's La Valse. Well, that's a waltz you wouldn't want to dance to. And that was the single piece of music I've listened to most on Spotify in 2020, or so I've been told. I had intended to finish the video at this point, but I then thought to myself this morning it would be churlish not to include in this programme one of Chopin's many waltzes, and it's just a brief piece before we wrap up. So let's see if I can find it. This is from Chopin's Three Waltzes, Opus 64, number 1 in D flat major, and it's played by Arthur Rubinstein. The minute waltz takes 1 minute and 49 seconds, I've just found. Well, that concludes this programme on waltzes that weren't written for the ballroom. I hope you enjoyed it. The festive period is almost upon us, so I'd like to take this opportunity just to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a much happier New Year than 2020 has been. I won't be issuing a programme over the festive period, and my next one will be out on the 12th of January, Tuesday. Okay, goodbye.